Dignitaries condole Governor Moino and family over passing of First Lady. Federal government reaffirms commitment to tackle infectious diseases. Senate reviews law okays life imprisonment for drug traffickers. On the foreign scene, heavy gunfire erupts in South Sudan capital of Juba. And in sports, 15,000 athletes to compete in 2024 National Sports Festival. We have details of this and other stories coming up in a moment. I am SHARON MANDOR. And now the news in detail. Beginning from home, distinguished personalities and groups have started arriving the country home of the Enquiry State Governor, Pastor Moino, to pay their condolences following the opening of the mourning house in honor of the deceased First Lady of the state, late Pastor Patience Moino. The series of condolence visits commenced with a visit by the first military administrator of the state, General Tunde Okweha, retired, and another former military administrator, Colonel Yakubu Bako, retired, to condole the governor, his bereaved family, and the people of Akwa Ibom State. Our Government House correspondent, Mfoniso Harrison, reports that also present to condole with the governor were a delegation of the judiciary, including Federal High Court judges of Akwa Ibom Extraction, Industrial Court judges, and judges in equity, led by the state chief judge, Honorable Justice Ekaite Obud, as well as members of the legislative arm of the state government, led by the Speaker, Elder Odemel Tong, who also visited the governor to register their condolences. The visit by the leadership of the Christian community in the state, under the auspices of Fathers of Faith for Good Governance and the Christian Leadership Advisory Council, led by the chairman, Christian Association of Nigeria CAN, Bishop Christian Young, beyond giving a spiritual underscore to the event, demonstrated great warmth and a show of solidarity by the clergy with their very own Pastor Moino. Receiving the guests, the governor expressed the appreciation of the family and people of the state for the visit and enormous support from his kith and kin demonstrated in various forms since the sad incident occurred, while assuring to draw strength from the love from good-spirited Akwa Ibom people and Nigerians to serve the people even better in the later days of his administration. The kinsmen of the governor, represented by leaders and stakeholders of Nsurubium local government area, led by Okuibomi Bibio Ntein Solomon Etok, and political leader of Uyo Senatorial District, Senator Ifeong Bob, also made conspicuous appearances on the first day of the First Lady's funeral countdown, with wives of traditional rulers in the area under the auspices of Esok Iban Mbong, led by Akwa Obong Awan Philomena Solomon Etok, making particular presentations to express the condolences of Nsurubium women and to show solidarity to the first daughter of the governor and coordinator of the office of the First Lady, Helen Obaraki. On the national scene, the National Economic Council NEC yesterday gave a one-week ultimatum to 3 northern states and the Federal Capital Territory, FCT Abuja, to submit their position paper on the proposed creation of state police. Governor of Bayelsa State, Gloye Diri, who briefed newsmen at the end of the NEC meeting, presided over by Vice President Kashim Shettima at the Presidential Villa, Abuja, mentioned that 3 states, Adamawa, Kebbi, and Kwara, as well as the FCT, continue to waste time in the assignments. NEC also resolved to reinforce the implementation of the National Electrification Strategy to end the collapse of the nation's power grid. Although it was explained that a deputy governor represented one of the 3 states during the meeting and announced that the state had submitted its position paper on the creation of state police, The next secretariat, however, could not confirm receiving it. Dewey said the one-week deadline was one of the outcomes of the council meeting. In another development, the Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Muhammad Pate, says the federal government is working to reduce the prevalence of infectious diseases in the country. Speaking at the second Akin Public Health Initiatives Annual Symposium with the theme Securing Our Future, Strengthening Global Health Security in Nigeria, held yesterday in Abuja, Pate observed that a lot of attention has been given to major public health diseases of importance over the years, while neglected tropical diseases, which are common among the poor, still thrive in our communities, and urges public health practitioners to do more on this direction. Pate, who was represented by the Director of Port Health Services at the Ministry, Dr. Nsiakban, noted that malaria, HIV, and tuberculosis, which are the leading public health diseases, are dropping, but more still needs to be done, and called for collaboration between the government and partners to tackle these diseases in order to achieve the universal health coverage. The minister stated that government is working towards a One Health approach to integrate all programs and tackle diseases with effective response so that all diseases of importance in the country can be contained and, if possible, eradicated. Away from that, the federal government has announced that no less than 6.1 million Nigerians are still displaced due to natural disasters and insecurity. The figure was revealed by the Federal Commissioner, National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons, Aliyu Tijani, yesterday in Abuja during the Technical Working Group on Migration and Development. Aliyu announced that the government and International Organization for Migration, IOM, would come together to strategize on how to formulate policies on migration and which will curb the irregular movement of persons from one part of the nation to another. He added that the migration policy will critically task and review the zero draft of the National Migration Policy presented by the Policy Review Committee. Still on the news, the Senate has amended the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency (NDLEA) Act to prescribe life imprisonment for individuals found guilty of storing, transporting, or concealing illicit drugs and substances. The amendment was adopted yesterday during plenary, presided over by Deputy Senate President Barau Jibrin, following wide support from the senators. The rejiggering reflects a harmonized position of the Senate and the House of Representatives on Section 2 of the NDLEA Act, after the House of Representatives had earlier passed an amendment prescribing life imprisonment for drug traffickers, while the Senate had proposed death penalty. Chairman of the Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters, Senator Tahir Monguno, who presented the harmonized version to the Senate, urged lawmakers to adopt the House's position of life imprisonment, arguing that enforcing the death penalty could lead to execution of over 900 accused persons currently awaiting trial for drug-related offenses. Moving on, a new survey by the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, has revealed that as a result of the impact of continuous reduction in the purchasing power of Nigerians due to rising prices of goods and services, 2/3 of households in the country lack money to eat healthy and nutritious food. The survey also showed that households in the country experience about 7 power blackouts every week. The NBS survey, titled Nigeria General Household Survey, Panel Wave 5, 2023-2024, examines demographics, education, and health trends in Nigeria, comparing data from Wave 4, 2018-2019, and Wave 5, 2023-2024. On food insecurity, the survey report stated that approximately 2 out of 3 households indicated being unable to eat healthy, nutritious, or preferred foods because of lack of money in the last 30 days. Similarly, 63.8% of households ate only a few kinds of food due to lack of money. 62.4% were worried about not having enough food to eat, and 60.5% ate less than they thought they should. You're listening to Global News on Memories 96.5 FM, and now we proceed to the rest of the news. On the foreign scene, heavy gunfire erupted in South Sudan's capital, Juba, yesterday after security forces moved to arrest the former head of the intelligence service. According to reports, the gunfire began around 7 p.m. local time and continued sporadically for more than an hour before dying down. A United Nations safety alert to staff members in Juba, which urged staff to shelter in place and seen by newsmen, said the shooting was related to the arrest of the former head of the National Security Service, NSS. In early October, President Salva Kiir dismissed Akol Cook, who had led the NSS since the country's independence from Sudan in 2011, and appointed a close ally to replace him. Army spokesperson Major General Lul Kwang said Cook had not been arrested and had stayed in his house throughout the shooting, adding that he would address reporters later on Friday after a meeting with other security officials. Still on the foreign scene, Russia is estimated to have supplied North Korea with more than 1 million barrels of oil since March this year, according to satellite imagery analysis from the Open Source Center, a non-profit research group based in the United Kingdom, UK. Leading experts and UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy have told newsmen that the oil is payment for the weapons and troops Pyongyang has sent to Moscow to fuel its war in Ukraine. These transfers violate United Nations sanctions, which ban countries from selling oil to North Korea except in small quantities in an attempt to stifle its economy to prevent it from further developing nuclear weapons. The satellite images shared exclusively with newsmen show more than a dozen different North Korean oil tankers arriving at an oil terminal in Russia's Far East, a total of 43 times over the past 8 months. Further pictures taken off the ships at sea appear to show the tankers arriving empty and leaving almost full. In sport, Director General of the National Sports Commission, NSC, Bukola Olakbade, says between 12,000 to 15,000 sportsmen and women are expected to participate in the 22nd National Sports Festival billed for January next year in Ogun State. Olakbade announced this yesterday after a closed-door meeting with the Osun State Governor, Dakpo Abiodun, and the Chief Executive Officer at Premium Trust Bank, Emmanuel Emefianim, at the Governor's office in Abeokuta. Ogun State Governor, I beg your pardon. Olakbade said the local working towards creating an Olympic Standard Games village that would accommodate all. And that's Global News on Memories 96.5 FM. But before we go, let's take a recap of the top stories. Remember, we told you that distinguished personalities and groups have started arriving the country home of the Akwa State Governor, Pastor Moeno, to pay their condolences following the opening of the mourning house in honor of the deceased First Lady of the state, late Pastor Patience Moeno. The National Economic Council, NEC, yesterday gave a 1-week ultimatum to 3 northern states and the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, to submit their position paper on the proposed creation of state police. The Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Muhammad Pate, says the federal government is working to reduce the prevalence of infectious diseases in the country. On the foreign scene, heavy gunfire erupted in South Sudan's capital, Juba, yesterday after security forces moved to arrest the former head of the intelligence service. In sport, Director General of the National Sports Commission, NSC, Bukola Olopade, says between 12,000 to 15,000 sportsmen and women are expected to participate in the 22nd National Sports Festival billed for January next year in Ogun State. The news this afternoon was edited by Nyakno Albert and assisted by the production team. For views regarding our news or coverage of a newsworthy event, you can reach us on email via newsroom@memoriesmediang.com or call our newsroom hotline on 0909 000 0581. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Memories965FM. And now let's take it down memory lane. On this day in 2007, the Nigerian Senate passed a resolution declaring that the withdrawal from the Bakassi Peninsula was illegal. And that's the news. Thank you for listening.